On June 25th, 2022, I received an email that changed my life. I love your application. Please email me back with your Discord username. And that's how I became a part of the team of Hamza Ahmed. Usually YouTubers hire copywriters, editors, media managers, whatever. But not Hamza. Hamza was hiring a thinker, a strategist. And this is the role that I was about to do an interview for. This was such a wonderful opportunity. I got to learn from the inside out what a master influencer thinks about content creation. This was the apprenticeship that changed my life. In fact, I made a video about my experiences in Hamza's team in February 2023. And this video was what gave my channel the kickstart that it needed. Now, it's been years since and everything has changed. And if you clicked on this video, well, you probably have an idea of the whole Hamza and Sam situation. I'll be focusing on some of the biological claims made by Hamza about testosterone and steroids. I'm qualified to speak about the subject of testosterone, not because I earned a graduate degree in genetics and molecular biology, but because I've worked one-on-one with dozens, if not hundreds of men across the globe, not globes, to fix their energy level and their productivity, their habits. I've seen hundreds and hundreds of blood work reports over the past years. I will break down Hamza's biological claims and I will call him out when he's bullshitting. I will also support him when he's being accurate. For example, Hamza says that he was taking just 150 milligrams of testosterone per week and that this took him from 700 nanograms per deciliter all the way to 1500, so almost double, in fact more than double. Is this even possible? Is this a lie? We will investigate. Then he says that he's basically natty because he's just using TRT to go back to caveman testosterone levels. Did cavemen really have 1500 plus testosterone scores? What the hell is a caveman anyway? We will investigate this as well. Hamza says that when he got off of TRT, he didn't really face any side effects. Well, how could this be? Almost everybody does face side effects. How could Hamza not? We will investigate this as well. Is he hiding something? We will reveal everything. Then Hamza mentions that he got a varicocele and that this ruined his natural testosterone. Now, is this a justification for getting on TRT? Or is he talking about a very real medical reason for being on TRT? By the end of the video, you'll have answers to all these questions, but on top of this, you'll understand how natural testosterone production works and what happens when you take synthetics. This will help you hugely whether you're planning to take TRT or not. You'll learn about varicoceles and how to prevent them. Finally, you'll hear my own perspective on the Hamza-Sam conflict as somebody who has been on the team during the golden era of Hamza's rise. First, I want to just say that TRT is actually awesome. I'm glad that we have the option and the scientists in their labs can synthesize liquid magic. Synthetic testosterone can absolutely speed muscle growth and give you insane motivation and drive. It basically gives you a healing factor like the Hulk or the Wolverine. It's amazing. It's an awesome technology. Seen as a technology, it's an awesome technology. Using TRT, we could be in our 40s and 50s, but have the drive and energy of a 20-year-old. This is power beyond belief. This has never been done in the history of mankind. When you're 20, your power level is capped by your lack of skills, and you don't have connections either. So you can't really do much, even though you have the energy. By the time you're 50, your power is no longer capped by wealth and connections. It's capped by your energy and drive. With TRT, you can become a monster because you can be 50 years of age and have the same drive as a 20-year-old. But then you have the skill set and connections of a 50-year-old. So you can just demolish. You can just demolish the competition if you're an older gentleman with access to TRT. But you have to remember that there's no solutions. There's only trade-offs. And the biggest trade-off nobody is talking about with regards to TRT and synthetic testosterone is supply chain vulnerability. Let me explain. So Hamza talks a lot about masculinity, right? That's his whole brand, essentially. He talks about being a leader. Well, what is a leader? The leader is, first and foremost, the most valuable member to the tribe. But think about this. Let's say an earthquake destroys your city. If you, a man, survives the destruction, it is upon your shoulders that the heaviest burdens will be placed. You'll be the one who needs to procure the medical supplies. You need to move the rubble. You need to be extracting the bodies. You need to be at the top of your game in order to help the survival of the society around you. If your testosterone comes from a glass vial, you're going to be a liability to society, not an asset when they need you the most. And the second aspect of the supply chain is, the pharmaceutical supply chain can be disrupted because of many reasons, not just a natural disaster. Just this year, there was a case where a Houston-based like testosterone company basically had to recall thousands upon thousands of vials because they found a contamination risk. On top of this, there are multiple supply shortages in the US and Canada, and of course across the globe. So this is not a hypothetical situation. Supply chain breakdowns do happen all the time. And so if you're relying on a pharmaceutical company for your testosterone, well, this is no different from modern people being over-reliant on a factory farm. The modern man doesn't know how to grow his own food, so he's at the mercy of these mega farms. And in the same way, the modern man cannot produce his own testosterone and therefore must be reliant on the mercy of the pharma companies. Is this really where you want to be? So why the reliance? So when you take synthetic testosterone, your body literally shuts down natural testosterone production. Most people don't know this, but the balls only produce testosterone if it receives a signal from the brain. But the signal that is sent from the brain, the strength of the signal, is determined by how much testosterone is already in the blood. So if you shoot testosterone into your body and elevate the overall bloodstream total testosterone, your brain no longer signals to the balls to make more testosterone because as far as your brain knows, you're already synthesizing enough. And then you don't want overproduction of testosterone, so the signaling shuts down. This is why the balls shrink if you take synthetic testosterone. And this is why testosterone production shuts down, as well as sperm production shuts down, because the signals which are sent by the brain, they're signals for both sperm production as well as testosterone production. So you effectively shut both of them down by taking synthetics. Hamza kind of brushes these things aside because apparently it didn't happen for him. So when he got off of TRT before his fight, he didn't have any adverse side effects, which will, to be clear, that's an awesome thing. So good for him. But don't let his personal anecdote influence your decision. So if you're on TRT for less than a year, there's a good chance that you'll be fine, you can recover, but it'll still take you 6 months of recovery. So let me explain. You take TRT for less than a year. That means that you have a good chance of coming back to baseline, but it will still take you like 3 to 6 months to come back to baseline. That's a lot of time. And if you take TRT for more than a year, so you're a long-term user of synthetics, there's a 50% chance that you never come back to baseline. Like, is this a risk you want to take? I think Hamza should have done a much better job of explaining the risks. He mentions his personal anecdote, but it's irrelevant and it's misleading. As soon as Hamza came off of TRT, he immediately went into a fight camp. This could be the reason why his TRT didn't crater. It could be that the exposure to the fight camp increased his testosterone, or at least speeded up his recovery fast enough that he could get back to natural production, even though he had been taking synthetics. Or maybe he's just genetically gifted. Like, you don't know. The thing is, Hamza lives the life of a 1% top lifestyle brand creator. That's not you. So if you're flirting with the idea of experimenting with TRT for a little bit and then getting off of it, thinking that there'll be no side effects, just like how there was no side effects for Hamza, you are deluding yourself. You don't understand risk and reward, and you're letting an anecdote change statistics, which is stupid. Don't do that. So basically, it's your body, you do what you want, but don't be swayed by an anecdote, is what I'm trying to say. In Hamza's video, he makes a very weird point, which I want to point out. So he says that he doesn't get withdrawal symptoms in general. So he says when he quits caffeine, there's no withdrawal symptoms. When he quits any kind of drug, well, there's no withdrawal symptoms. But we're not talking about withdrawal symptoms here. When you get off of TRT, it's not a withdrawal symptom which hurts you. It's a completely different mechanism. These mechanisms have nothing to do with each other. Like, the way caffeine works in the brain is fundamentally different from the way testosterone behaves. So you might be completely fine with quitting caffeine, but it might have nothing to do with your ability to get off TRT. These things are just non-overlapping. So that's what this video is really about. This is not really an attack on Hamza at all. This is just to set the record straight as far as the biology is concerned. So Hamza also mentions in his advanced guide that you can take HCG, which is, or Clomid for that matter, to reduce ball shrinkage and to maintain sperm health, even when you're taking TRT. This is true, but the supply chain issues for HCG and Clomid are actually much worse than that for testosterone. You can get testosterone fairly easily. So HCG is basically, you take testosterone that shuts down your sperm production. Remember I said there's a signal which goes from the brain to the balls? HCG can mimic this and therefore re-signal to the balls that actually you should still be producing sperm. And that's what HCG does. It's basically a way to have your cake and eat it too. But there's a lot of legal red tape on it, and besides, it has its own risk profile, and it costs a lot more than testosterone, which again, Hamza doesn't really mention any of this. So this is the problem. Hamza made an hour and a half long video about TRT, but he doesn't mention any of these key points. He yaps about the toe exercises and the $300 like sleep mattress, but he fails to educate the audience on the actual risks that he's incurring. I think he talks a lot about the rewards. He talks about how his muscle increased, how his libido went up, and like all these cool things. But he does not spend the time or have the nuance to explain the downsides. And so here I am, like giving you the other side of the story. In terms of dosage, Hamza says that he takes 150 milligrams per week, and he says that this dosage was enough for him to go from 700, which is a good level. It's not like you can be higher than that for sure, but 700 is a good and healthy level, unquestionably so. Now, he says that he went from 700 to 1500, which is clear, like super physiological enhanced levels with just a 150 milligrams per week dosage. So the thing is this even possible, right? Is this claim even valid? So because, like, to give you context, the average testosterone levels is like 600 or less. So to say that he has 1500 is basically like, it's more than 3 times average. So to explain how he used a relatively low dose to get to 1500, he says that he might have been a hyper responder. And basically he makes the claim that, well, he was so locked in and healthy even prior to the enhancement that when he did take the TRT, like there was no stopping him and the testosterone score just went up even higher than you would expect from that dosage. So is this possible? I think this is an amazing result. It's an outlier result, and this is more than what you can expect from that dosage, but it is actually possible. It just depends on the level of SHBG. So SHBG is sex hormone binding globulin, and it's a spherical molecule that carries testosterone. You can think of it as a school bus which delivers testosterone from the balls to all the tissues of your body. So the thing is, for a lot of guys, the binding affinity of SHBG with testosterone is too high. You can imagine this as though your school bus is taking the testosterone from the balls to the rest of your body, but it doesn't open its doors, doesn't let the testosterone out. So what's the point of producing the testosterone if it doesn't actually get into the tissues? So a lot of guys have good levels of testosterone, but their free testosterone is too less. So what's free testosterone? That's the testosterone that can actually be used by the body. That's the testosterone that is let out by the school bus, essentially. So in Hamza's case, it just could be that his SHBG, so the school buses, could be really good functioning because he's already a healthy guy, and this could have really boosted the effects that he got from TRT. But even this doesn't really fully explain or answer the question which I asked, which is, can a low dose of 150 milligrams of testosterone per week even get you to 1500 in the first place? So to answer that question, we have to go into what's called half-life. So half-life is just a fancy concept, which is like when you have a quantity of anything which is decreasing with time, at some point it's going to be half the initial quantity. That time taken to reach from its initial quantity to half the initial quantity is called half-life. Basically, it's a measure of how fast a molecule decays, or how fast, in this case, how fast the injected testosterone, how long does it actually stay in the bloodstream. It comes down to like which form of testosterone Hamza is using. There's two types of, that's actually more, but there's two main types of synthetic testosterone that people can use. The common one is called cypionate, and the more powerful but also rare version is called undecanoate. So let's just assume that Hamza used the common version, which is the cypionate. This version has a half-life of 5 to 7 days. So I ran the numbers. If we assume the half-life of 5 or like 4, then the numbers don't check out. But the thing is, Hamza is already, again, like a healthy guy. So maybe he was pushing the 7 to 8 days half-life, in which case it is actually quite possible for him to attain the 1500 nanograms per deciliter blood level of testosterone with a 150 milligram per week dosage. So I don't think he's lying. I think he's absolutely on the money. Like, I think that he can achieve this level. So my bullshit meter is not activated. I think he's telling the truth. But the thing is, his claim doesn't stop there, right? His claim says that, well, he's kind of natty because like he's just trying to get back to his ancestral levels of testosterone, in the sense that what he's saying is like cavemen back in the day, they used to have 1500 and beyond levels of testosterone. So all he's doing by taking TRT, or taking synthetics I should say, is that he's just actually natural in the sense that he's natural to the past levels, right? He's authentic to the caveman levels. So is this claim that cavemen, I'm going to use the word caveman because Hamza used it. Of course, I wouldn't get into the specifics of why caveman may not be actually the most accurate term. Okay, I'll get into it. So the reason why caveman is a term which is commonly used is simply because most fossils we find of human beings are in caves. Not because most humans of that time lived in caves, but more so because in caves you have a higher chance of preserving the fossils in the first place. And so this term caveman, it didn't mean that humans of that time lived mostly in caves. They didn't. It's just that those are the places where the fossils are best preserved. Either way, coming back. So is this claim that cavemen had a testosterone level of 1500 nanograms per deciliter even true? Does it have any backing behind it? Let's see. First, we have absolutely no direct evidence that prehistoric humans had this level of testosterone. They might have, but we don't know. There's no soft tissue fossils that actually contain enough hormone to measure and make an extrapolation. The only thing we do know is that the brow ridge. So the brow ridge is like this thing. Like if you look at my side profile, the brow ridge is like how protruding my eyebrows are. So you can kind of see it face to face, but you can really see the brow ridge only from a side profile, right? So you'll find that higher the testosterone, more pronounced is the brow ridge. And in prehistoric skulls, the brow ridge is in fact more pronounced. And that is correlated with higher testosterone. So this paper called Craniofacial Feminization, Social Tolerance, and the Origins of Behavioral Modernity. The scientists here are making the hypothesis that the decrease in the brow ridge strength correlates with lowering of testosterone, and this makes sense because in the social environment that humans were in at the time, cooperation became more important than aggression for survival, and then lowering of testosterone was actually an advantageous trait because lower the testosterone, lower the aggression, and more the cooperation. So the paper is arguing that in fact, yes, testosterone went down, but this was a good thing because it allowed human beings to collaborate and build a better society. That's the claim made in the paper anyway. So could Hamza's caveman testosterone claim be true? It's actually entirely possible. We have no proof that denies it, and we have at least one piece of proof using the brow ridge data that it's actually quite possible. So we cannot give a scientific yes or no to Hamza's claim, but again, my bullshit meter is not activated. I think his claim makes sense. And here's the crazy thing. I'm going to share with you a case study which will blow your mind because it blew mine. So in my consulting business, I regularly see blood work reports. I see a lot of them. My company processes like hundreds of them. So I thought I had seen everything under the sun when it comes to blood work. I thought I really had a picture of what blood work should look like. In fact, for every member who goes through this process with us, we run their blood work through this really fancy data engine, this biometrics like analyzer and interpretation system. And it's really cool. It generates a really easy to understand report which really explains your blood work to you in a way that a regular like bunch of numbers does not explain. But for one particular member, the report showed 1456 nanograms per deciliter. So basically 1500 nanograms per deciliter of overall testosterone. So seeing this, I figured, well, the software glitched. So I looked at the original report, and sure enough, this guy had basically a 1500 nanograms per deciliter total testosterone score. So about the same as what Hamza claims, right? Here I figured there was three possibilities. First is the obvious one, which is this guy was on something. So I had him book a call with me so that I could ask him these questions, like, is he taking any synthetics? On this call, he said that he had never taken any synthetics. So the second possibility is much more serious. So I was thinking that he might actually have some kind of tumor. So some cancers, like a prostate cancer, will elevate testosterone because the tumor itself produces androgens. So I immediately recommended further tests for him to get a more well-rounded picture. So I'm going to share with you my analysis of the situation and give you my thoughts and explain more biomarkers than just testosterone, because testosterone is just one part of the story, it's not the whole story. This is a real case study using real numbers. That being said, I am not a doctor. I'm not providing a medical diagnosis. That is not what my business does. That is not what I do. Here is the exact list of biomarkers I recommended to this guy who had this amazing testosterone level. So I recommended LH and FSH. So this is luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone. These, like, so remember before I said that there's a signal which the brain sends to the balls to signal sperm and testosterone production? This is actually that signal. LH and FSH are those signals. Second item was estradiol. I will explain what all of these mean and how you can interpret this for yourself as well. So just be patient. Then I had him get DHEA, and then I had him get cortisol. So I had these data points to work with. But of course, first thing we had to do was just retest testosterone, because sometimes, labs get it wrong. But he did the test again. The number was practically identical. So we felt that, in fact, the lab was correct. So let's go back and talk about the LH and FSH. Like I said, that's the signal which the brain sends to the balls to signal testosterone. So why is it so important to study for this context? It's because if we found that the signal was shut down, then we should be worried. Why? Because it would imply that the testosterone isn't coming from the balls. In other words, it could be coming from a tumor. Well, I am happy to say that the member who I'm talking about, his LH was 8.4 milli-IU per milliliter, and this is well within the healthy range. And his FSH was 5 of the same unit, and this is also in the healthy range. So far, we can say that the signaling from his brain to his balls was intact, which means that there's a good chance that it was in fact his balls which was producing this extra testosterone. And in fact, this is how you test for somebody who's taking synthetics. So of course, I believed him when he said that he wasn't taking synthetics, but now I also had proof. Because if he was taking synthetics and if he was lying, then it would show up in the blood work because LH and FSH would be shut down. But it wasn't, therefore he wasn't lying. So the next thing to look at is the estradiol. If a lot of this testosterone was being aromatized to estrogen, then this value of estradiol should be above normal. So here we saw that his estradiol was 25 picogram per milliliter. So it seems that was completely in the normal range. So again, we don't even have to worry about aromatization. Then we looked at DHEA and cortisol. Why? It's because, testosterone is not only produced in the balls, it's also produced in the adrenal glands. Usually not a lot, but it can be. So some people will have hyperactive adrenals. So that's when the adrenals are just overproducing. So we looked at the DHEA and cortisol levels, because if these were elevated, then that would give us a clue. It would mean that the adrenals are overstimulated and it's producing so much cortisol and so much DHEA that some of it is becoming testosterone. And basically then we would have to look for ways to solve the adrenal issues. But here too, the DHEA was 490 microgram per deciliter, which is slightly high, but nothing crazy. Doesn't explain the level of testosterone that this guy's on. And cortisol was fine as well. So in addition to this, we also looked at SHBG, we looked at free testosterone, we looked at HbA1c, we looked at a bunch of different biomarkers, and literally everything was fine. So looking at everything, it's like, looks like this guy just naturally has 1500 nanograms of deciliter of testosterone. And I made it very clear to the member as well that, hey, I'm not a doctor. I'm just sharing with you what I understand, and you should absolutely go to a medical professional if you want. And I'm saying that to you as well. I am not a doctor, right? So don't take any of this as medical advice. So based on all the evidence, based on looking at the biomarkers, this member is 100% natty. In other words, men of this kind who have a natural 1500 nanograms per deciliter of testosterone do exist even today. In fact, I looked at the stats, and about 2% or maybe even 1% of the male population does just naturally have 1500 nanograms per deciliter of testosterone. So it's not unreasonable to think that in ancient times this number could have been bigger. So right now it's 2%. It's not unreasonable. Like 10,000 years ago, could it be that more than 50% were at this level? Yeah, it is possible. So Hamza's claim that, hey, back in the day during caveman times, that the average testosterone level was in fact 1500 or more, it's not impossible. Like, we have a real life example of somebody who's non-enhanced and has that level. Now, all this said, all this talk about TRT and synthetic testosterone, there's a very good chance that you're not interested in synthetics, which is great. So, but you might have the question, well, how much of an increase in testosterone can you expect without synthetics? And I'll give you real numbers from real gentlemen who worked with me in the past, right? So I'll give you examples from actual case studies. This is Timo. He went from 538 nanograms per deciliter of testosterone to 791, which is a 253 nanograms increase in just 3 months. This is Oleon. He went from 512 to 894, which is a 392 nanograms increase in, again, just 3 months. This is Jonathan. He went from 435, which is definitely in the red zone, all the way to 892, almost 900, which is a 457 nanograms per deciliter increase. So this is particularly interesting because Jonathan was age 45 at the time of this transformation. So when society says that, well, your testosterone must fall after age 30, it's like, I have proof that that's just not necessary. That's just not true. And the cool part about this video is the transformation protocol which these men use to get those results. I'm just going to give you that for free. So, but that's for later. Hamza's next claim is that there's microplastics in our balls and there's all these pollutants which decrease testosterone. He says that it's an uphill battle. His words, not mine, that it is an uphill battle for a man to naturally increase his testosterone in the modern world. And these claims are generally true. There's plenty of papers that show that modern pollutants aren't exactly helping our hormonal health. So, like, so far, Hamza's biological claims, I mean, a little bit of hype for sure, but they're not factually incorrect. But then the question becomes, are these reasons sufficient to take TRT when you're already at 700 nanograms per deciliter? Now, that seems like a stretch to me. I wouldn't do it personally, and I've already outlined the risks as to why I wouldn't. But the thing is, it's his body, right? He can do whatever he wants. The problem isn't that he tried TRT. The problem really was that he didn't reveal his TRT usage until Sam forced him to reveal it, in a sense. So Hamza's rebuttal to this is, well, he hid the truth because he didn't want to influence his teenagers to also hop on TRT. But at this point, it sounds like damage control because the question is open whether he would have admitted to TRT if the Sam situation hadn't happened. So the thing is, there's actually a better strategy. And if I was still a part of Hamza's team and I was still his strategist, this is what I would have told him to do instead. What he should have done is, before starting TRT, he should have made a video explaining why he made the choice to do so before starting it. He should have explained that everybody in his community should wait for the 1 year until the results are in before they themselves make that decision. This would have allowed him to try TRT, gain all the benefits, and first off, he has a right to try TRT, it's his body again, but then he wouldn't have lost trust with his audience because his audience would be like, okay, got it, like Hamza's testing TRT for us, like he's taking this risk for us, and when he has the results in a year's time, then he will share this with us, and then we can make the decision. Like, imagine the level of trust you would build with Hamza if he actually just straight out said, hey, I'm going to take TRT, I'm doing this for you boys, I'm going to experiment on myself like a human guinea pig and give you the results. Like, I would trust him more for that. But now what's happened is he's done the TRT and used his good physique as, you know, part of his brand, really. And now that he's on TRT, it's like, well, which other claims that has he made that are not fully true, right? So this causes a lot of doubt in his audience's mind. Not good brand building. Like, straight up, this is bad marketing. This is bad brand building. This is bad for his business. He's going to lose money because of this. So the lesson that I'm learning from this is a classic. A lesson that we have all heard, but we have to be reminded all the time. When in doubt, just state the facts and tell the truth. You can't go wrong. So if you take nothing else from this video, just take this, that state the facts and tell the truth. So this is true in your personal life, of course, but also especially true if you're trying to build a personal brand. In the world that we live in, trust is going to become rarer and rarer. If you succeed in building a personal brand in today's age, well, that's a very valuable thing. Something that people actually resonate with. If you actually build that, that is such a rare and valuable thing. Like, people don't have trust. People don't have time for you. And Hamza did manage to build a very rare and valuable brand, but, you know, he squandered it. It's the same as though like you spend, you know, 20 years building a real estate business and then you just decide randomly to just burn the whole thing down. That's basically what Hamza has accidentally done. So coming back to the topic of testosterone, what are the benchmarks? Like, what's risky? What's good? Like, I will give you everything. Again, like I said, I've gone through hundreds of these. And the way my business works is, it's not just like a testosterone consultation. We work with the member for a long period of time. So we can actually see behavior changes. We can see, well, changes in the way they perceive themselves. We can see changes in social skills, and we can see the whole picture along with the testosterone. So I actually have a very good idea of, well, what levels are risky and what levels are good. So I'll give you the exact numbers so you can calibrate this for yourself. So if you're below 400 nanograms of deciliter of testosterone, you're in the red. Like, this is not a good place to be. And honestly, this is your single biggest bottleneck in life. Like, you can try to be more productive, you can try to improve your mindset, you can try to do this and that, but like, your health is always going to be a downwards pressure on you if your testosterone is below 400. Now, if you're between 400 and 700, you're in the yellow. So I'm basically trying to do a traffic light thing, red, yellow, green, right? So yellow is 400 to 700. This means that like, you're not going to be negatively affected by your testosterone, but you're not going to be positively affected by it as well. So you're just gonna be kind of average. So this is the average range, and you can still be successful here, of course, but you won't have you won't have the, what do you call it? What's the term, like when you're running and there's a wind from the back which helps you run faster? Like a backwind? Like the wind by your back, basically, whatever. Like, you won't have that if you're under 700, let's say. Now, if you're 700 to 1,000, you're in the green. Like, you'll actually feel good, you'll have extra energy compared to the average person, and you'll have extra drive, and it will be actually an asset. Like, you actually have an asset now, which is propelling you through life. Now, if you're 1,000 plus natty, then you're in the gold. Like, you have very good testosterone, like, just go win, right? Just go win. If you're 1,200 and beyond, you're actually gifted, or of course, you're enhanced. So that is different. Now, should you consider synthetic testosterone? Well, here's how you can make that decision for yourself. First criteria, do you need it? So if you're in the green, like Hamza was like 700 and something, right? So Hamza was in the green. So in my view, if you're in the green, don't worry. Like, just don't worry about it. The risks are not worth the rewards if you're already in the green. If you're in yellow and red, potentially, which is where the second and third criteria come in. Second criteria for whether you should take testosterone or not is reproduction. So TRT will affect your reproductive success. So have you had kids yet? If you haven't had kids yet, I would suggest knocking that out and then getting on TRT. The third is timing. So are you in your 20s? If you're in your 20s, dude, don't do it. Like, if you're in your 20s, don't get on TRT. Even if you're in your 30s, I would suggest, unless there's an actual medical condition, don't hop on it. If you're 40 plus, okay, it's starting to make sense. If you're 50 plus, then I would actually strongly look into it. So you can remember this whole decision tree with a simple acronym, TRT. So traffic light, that's your red, yellow, green. The reproduction, which is have you had kids or not. And timing, which is how old are you? TRT, that's how you decide whether you should be on TRT. Now, if you've never even done a blood test, then you have no idea, because I see a lot of guys who are like, I felt that I had good testosterone, but when I did the blood test, I was in my 400s. It's because human mind, right? The human mind calibrates to what it feels is normal. So if you've lived in a sub 400 testosterone range for a long time, you just think that that's the normal baseline, like that's how you should feel. But it's not true. It's like a tax bracket. It's like, you don't, if you're poor and you've lived all your life in an average, like, middle class tax bracket, you just don't know the game at a higher tax bracket. And so it is with testosterone as well. How do you test it? Like, you actually need to go and get your blood drawn, and they will give you the values. Now, the thing is, you don't want to test just testosterone because it gives you a very narrow look into your health. You would ideally have a custom panel built for you which has the exact biomarkers that you need, and I can help you with that for free. So I've created a tool, and what this tool does is it asks you a series of questions, takes like 5 minutes to fill, and once you answer these questions, it will give you your custom panels, the custom biomarker list that will make sense for you to get. On top of this, it'll also give you a discount code so you can save some money. And on top of this, after you get your blood test, now interpretation is hard, so you can actually send the blood test to us, and we will for free run it through our software and give you a comprehensive report with interpretation, again, for free. So that's pretty cool, especially at no cost to you. Coming back to Hamza, he mentioned that he had a varicocele. This is an important topic, boys. So if you found value so far in this video, like, this is actually where the meat and potatoes, the gold, actually starts. What is a varicocele? Varicocele is like a varicose vein in your ball sack. Not good. You do not want this. So you probably know what a varicose vein is. So in older folk, or even like overweight folk, you'll see that the veins in their calves are like all bulging, and you can see that there's like knots of veins in their calves. You probably have seen this. So that same phenomenon where the veins get twisted and swollen, that can and does happen in your ball sack. And it's much more common than you think. The stats say that 20% of men have it. I suspect that the stat is actually an underreporting. In other words, think about this. How many guys are watching my video right now? Let's say 1,000 people, 1,000 men, watch this video. That means 200 people who are watching this video right now have varicocele. And let's say this video gets 10,000 views. Well, that means 2,000 people who watch the video have varicocele. So don't think, well, 20%, I'm not going to be in the 20%. Understand the statistics. Like there's a 20% chance that you have the varicocele. So you need to test, and I will teach you exactly how to do this. But like, what does even varicocele do? Varicocele reduces testosterone and reduces sperm health to the point at which you might not be able to have kids if the varicocele is too bad. So nobody's talking about this. I'm going to use this video to serve as a platform to talk about varicocele. I think I'll make a dedicated video as well. But I think that the level of varicocele prevalence is one of the leading causes for the fall in fertility and fall in testosterone worldwide. So how can you tell that if you have it or not? So this is going to be a weird one because, okay, I'll just explain it, right? So imagine this is your ball sack, right? Imagine this is your ball sack. Above the ball sack are the veins which hold up the balls, right? Well, technically the veins aren't holding the balls, but whatever. You have your balls, you have the veins which connect them to the body. What you do is take your fingers like this with your middle finger and thumb, and you're gonna go around the veins. All right, you're gonna do this first on your left side, and you're going to just move your fingers gently across the ball sack outwards and feel what the veins feel like. And then you're gonna take your right hand and cup over, like, imagine if your right ball is here, you're gonna cup over it, and then you're gonna again just like feel the veins and move your hand like external to the ball sack. And what you're gonna feel for is, are they different? Because the thing is, 90% of varicoceles happen on the left ball, which I'll explain why. But the thing is, like, if you feel that your right side ball veins and your left side ball veins feel considerably different, like there's a decent chance that's a varicocele, because they should be symmetrical more or less. Now, why does the left ball have such a high risk, like 90% plus of varicoceles from the left side? It's because internally, the way the veins connect, the angle at which the veins connect in the left ball is actually different, and it's steeper than that for the right ball, which means that there's more pressure on the left side, which is why the varicocele is higher frequency occurrence on the left side. Oh, well, I didn't even explain what the hell a varicocele is. So let's get into it. So varicocele is not an infection. It is not a disease as such. It's not something that you can communicate with another person. It is a valve failure. So it's a mechanical failure. Let me explain. So why does a valve fail? Just like in plumbing, right? Why would a valve fail? A valve fails when the pressure is too high and the valve can't handle it. That's why a valve would fail in plumbing or in the body. Like, we gotta deviate from testosterone and talk more about circulation. So circulation is just like how your blood goes from your heart to the rest of your body and then back to your heart for pumping, right? So the heart pumps the blood into the arteries goes into the tissues use up the oxygen in the blood, and then the blood goes into the veins, and the veins pump, or the veins don't pump, the heart pumps the blood back from the veins to the lungs. In the lungs, it gets reoxygenated, goes back, and it gets circulated, and that's the circulatory system, right? So when it comes to the veins are all leading the blood back to the lungs and heart. So they're pumping blood against the force of gravity. So arteries are pumping blood downwards, right? Downwards to your legs and whatnot. But on the way up, they're acting against gravity. So the pressure differential is different. So the veins have these one-way valves which control blood flow. So basically, it allows blood to go in one direction, which is upwards, but not downwards. So it works literally like plumbing in your building, in a sense. So what happens is, if there's too much pressure, then the valve folds and breaks, and this causes the blood to backwash, which is not supposed to happen, which is going to not rupture, but like swell the walls of the veins far more than the capacity they're supposed to. So the valves fail, then the walls of the veins are forced to expand to accommodate the extra pressure. So that's what a varicose vein is, and that's what a varicocele is as well. It's a valve failure. That's why it's hard to, like, if you have a varicocele, you can't just like fix your diet and sleep and hope for the varicocele to go away. You can help your varicocele go away, like not go away, but you can help the symptoms of the varicocele decrease. But you are not likely to fix a valve failure through lifestyle alone, which is why surgery is the major option. Like if you have a bad varicocele, I'm gonna say that, well, surgery, as far as I know, surgery is the main way you can solve that problem. So the main question is like, how do we prevent this, right? None of us wants to have ball surgery. Ball surgery does not sound fun. The thought of like, dude, the thought of a scalpel or something getting close to my balls does not make me, that does not sound like a good thing, right? So we want to prevent varicoceles. How do we do this? Some things are like general purpose, like don't be fat. Like if you're fat right now, then your circulatory system in general has to deal with more pressure. So you don't want this because it increases your chance of varicocele. Second thing, if you stand all day, like maybe your job just requires you to stand all day. Like sometimes cashiers stand all day. Like if you're working in fast food, there's a good chance that you're standing all day. There's many professions that you just stand all day, right? If that's you, then in your break periods, right, I would strongly suggest doing leg lifts. So leg lifts is when you find a wall and you recline your legs, like you're laying flat and you put your legs up. This will drain the blood flow from your legs back to your body, and this will alleviate the pressure on your circulatory system, on your veins, and so this will prevent the chance of valve failure. This will reduce your chance of varicose veins in your calves, first off, and then it also not prevents but reduces the chance of ball sack varicose veins. So I don't think I've ever made a video where I say the word ball sack this many times. So that's a new record. Ball sack. Okay. Where was I? Yeah. So if you stand a lot, that's a potential cause of valve failure. If you sit a lot, also, there you're increasing chance of valve failure. Why? Well, if you're sitting, you're putting so much pressure on your pelvic floor, right? You're putting pressure on your pelvic floor for like hours. Like if you're a computer programmer or if you write on your laptop a lot, like whatever it is, like if you're sitting a lot, don't. Like every hour you should be getting up and doing some air squats and then going back so that there's more circulation and the pressure is alleviated. Like you're putting so much pressure on the pelvic floor, not a recipe for success. In addition to this, you need to, in general, maintain good hormonal health, lower inflammation, and this will improve the strength of your circulatory system as a whole. It'll improve the, what's the word for it? The strength, let's just say. The strength of the veins themselves so they can deal with higher pressures. Because varicocele is no joke, boys. Your ball will actually shrink. And the only way, like I said, to fix it is ball sack surgery. So, like, do these basic things and it will reduce your chances of varicocele by a lot. There's also one more technique which I'll share with you, which will reduce the chance of varicocele, but also increase testosterone. So when it comes to varicocele specifically, what are the factors which increase pressure on the veins above your balls? Well, like I said, sitting, right? So increasing pressure, but also heat. So if you're sitting a lot, you're increasing the heat on your balls because, well, your thighs, they're by the balls, so the balls don't have the chance to eject their heat. So first thing is, if you have the option, buy a chair like the one which I'll show you in this picture. It's basically a mesh. So this allows airflow under your balls, and that's where you need it the most. Or alternatively, you can buy a standing desk, and that way you can stand for an hour and work, and then you can sit for an hour and work, and you're standing, you're sitting, you're standing, you're sitting. The body has enough variation that there's no chance of valve failure. And besides this, I have a secret technique, which I don't think anybody is really talking about, even though it's so simple, and it's called ball fanning. So this is a ball fan. Well, actually just a normal fan, but I use it for my balls, and therefore it's called the ball fan. So you've heard, you probably know this already, like heat is bad for the balls. And this is in fact the leading theory as to why the balls are located outside the body in the first place, is that sperm needs a lower temperature for it to be formed properly, and that by keeping the balls inside the body, it would damage sperm and therefore the balls hang out. So in modern times, of course, we wear underwear, we wear like tight-fitting pants sometimes. This applies a lot of pressure and heat on the balls. Effectively, modern man is frying their balls. So no to tight pants. Underwear is fine, but have them loose fitting and cotton underwear, and then that'll be okay. So here's what you do. You have a fan like this one, and what you do is you just turn it on, and as you're working, you can just have it oriented downwards towards your balls and you just continue working. That way you have airflow cooling down your ball sack. So if you've never done this before, you will thank me for this technique, boys. Just trust me. Like, this fan is all of like 20 bucks. Awesome. Awesome investment. So I watched a video by Joseph Everett. His YouTube channel is called What I've Learned. It's a really good channel, but this video which I watched, which is about, well, how heat affects sperm and testosterone production, was a very mid video. He does a good job of explaining the problem and even going through some of the research, but his solution is kind of, I'll just put it this way. I will use science, not opinions. So the solution that he comes up with for the problem of our balls being too hot is ball icing. So that's when you take a bag of ice and you chill your ball sack. So this method is inferior in every way to ball fanning, and I will explain using the fundamental laws of physics. So before I studied biology, I actually studied engineering, which is why I studied thermodynamics. And so we can actually model this using a thermodynamic model to create an estimate. So okay, this is a slight detour, boys, but it will be fun, trust me. So imagine that the ball sack is a perfect sphere of volume 80 milliliters, and the density and heat capacity of this ball is the same as water. So I'm going to run a physics simulation. So Joseph Everett's ball icing protocol, I think, is ridiculous. Because what he says is he does 3 sessions per day of 8 minutes per time. So that's 24 minutes per day with ice on your balls. How absurd. Like, I don't have time for this shit. I don't think any grown man has time to stand around with fucking ice on his ball sack. Like, this is just not realistic, and I don't even think that he does this consistently. But let's say he does. So basically, his well, even if he has 8 minutes for ball icing, like per session, you cannot hold ice to your balls for like 8 minutes. You're gonna have to like touch it and then remove it, touch it and remove it. Otherwise, your balls is gonna freeze. So it's more like a touch and go thing, right? So the effective skin to ice contact is probably not the full 24 minutes. It's probably more like a quarter of that, if that, right? So let's say 6 minutes of actual skin on ice contact. I ran the calculations. Obviously, I'm not going to go into this right now. I can if you are interested in how I ran the simulation. But if you want, like, you can do this yourself, and you'll find an estimate of about 50 kilojoules of heat being dissipated using this ice bath method. With ball fanning, you can do this for way more than 6 to 8 minutes, right? You can have this thing running for hours. So it doesn't require you to hold it or even be uncomfortable. In fact, I often forget that my ball fan is even on. So you can very easily do 4 hours or more. Using this, you can dissipate 100 kilojoules of heat. And that, of course, depends on the ambient air temperature, wind speed, humidity, etc. So I just use simplifying assumptions to arrive to this conclusion. Either way, the physics basically says that for the ball sack, air-cooled system is better than an ice-chilled system. And now, who is this important for? This is especially important for those who sit for long periods. So if you're driving an hour or more, or even 30 minutes or more, you should get yourself a ball fan. And if you're a truck driver or something and you're actually like, that's your job is driving, you absolutely need a ball fan. Basically everybody needs a ball fan. Earlier in the video, I said that you're going to get something big for free. Last year in November, I did a giveaway. I gave away all my courses for free. I'd just come out of a surgery and I was like, I can take time off and really take care of my health because of the community. Like, you are my community. And I gave away all my courses for free because I wanted that information and knowledge to be accessible to you. This year, I'm going to do even better. This year, I'm going to do something even bigger. This year, I'm going to pick one channel subscriber who's watching this right now to give away 1 year of access to my health and productivity team for free. This will absolutely change your life. On top of this, the winner of this grand prize, this contest, will also win 12 one-on-one calls with me. I will help you craft your personal life strategy, which is basically the service which I was providing to Hamza, and I will give you a sense of mental clarity that you have never experienced before. In addition, the grand prize winner will get one of these things. It's a Aura Ring 4. It's a $400 biometrics tracker. It's like actually the best. This whole package is usually like $5,000 package. I'm giving this all to you for free. Why? Well, because why not? Like I said, my life has been changed by this community for the better, and the past 2 years have been the most challenging years of my life, but also the most rewarding. So this is the least I can do. And I'm not even done. In addition to the grand prize winner, I will also select 2 second place winners to get 3 months of all this service for free. So what are the results? The average member, increases the testosterone by 174 nanograms per deciliter. And that's including all the guys who are trying to lose weight, which generally suppresses testosterone. The average member gains almost an hour of sleep extra per night, which over a 7-day period would be 7 extra hours of sleep, which is like having an extra night of sleep per week. Pretty cool. The average member claws back 9 hours of productive time per week. But really, our biggest flex is in changing people's behaviors. That is what we do. We are behavior change specialists first and foremost, and hormonal health specialists second. So we will guide you in finding the highest leverage ways to spend your time to actually hit your goals and give you clarity on those goals in the first place. And we will have our team constantly on alert to make sure you're following through, so you can't help but succeed. So how do you apply? This is not a lucky draw, as you can guess. It is not a first come first serve either. This is a merit-based thing. This application closes in about 7 days from the release date of this video. You can find the exact deadline in the description or pinned comment. So if you're interested in this, if you're interested in getting all this for a year for free, then you should put your application in as soon as this video ends. And on top of this, everybody who applies will get a mystery prize, a secret prize just for applying. So everybody wins something. Pause the video now and go and fill out the application and then come back and watch the rest of the video. Easy. May the best man win. And okay, now the fun part, the drama itself. All right, let's get into it. The drama, right? Who's in the right? Is it Hamza or is it Sam? And do I have any unique insight into this, considering that I was a part of the team during Hamza's golden era? Here's what I can say. So Hamza never treated me with any kind of disrespect ever. He never put me down. He never expected me to praise him. I was always brutally honest with him, and he took it in a completely normal way. So that's what I have to say about Hamza. More than a year ago, in fact, I made a video about Hamza where I criticized him a lot. I made the claim that his actions were destroying his reputation. Specifically, I criticized him in public for dumping his girlfriend and hooking up with these random chicks in, I think, Russia. And that was just after he talked about his fatherhood arc. So I was like, what are you talking about, bro? Like, you're talking about being a father, you're talking about commitment, you're talking about starting a family, and then like a month later, like, you've moved on from your girlfriend and you're hooking up with these random chicks. It's like, that doesn't seem like it's conducive to your message, like, at all. So I made that video, I criticized him quite strongly, and this is the text that I got from him. It says, what do you think I should change about myself? I won't be offended at your answer, and I will use it for self-improvement. And I gave him more criticism just one-on-one in the text messages. And again, I was not mincing my words, let's just say. And he didn't take it the wrong way at all. Like, he just took it, and I don't know if he implemented the things which I said or not, but he was not offended. Now, we haven't talked since, but I didn't get the impression that he was hurt by it. Now, to be very clear, I'm not taking sides here. I'm not saying that Sam is lying or misrepresenting the facts, because I have no idea whatsoever the context of Sam and Hamza. I only know the context between Hamza and myself. So it's quite possible that he treats Sam in a different way than he treated me. That is possible. And so I'm not dismissing anything that Sam has said. In the end of the day, I think the whole thing's a disgrace. These are grown-ass men showing their private messages and voice notes to the world. It's kind of lame. So, I mean, like, Sam calls Hamza a cockroach in his video, and in return, Hamza calls Sam a beta male parasite, just calling names to each other in a public forum. Can you imagine the great men of the past? Ajax, or Achilles of the Western canon, or Arjuna or Krishna of the Eastern canon. Like, no matter where you come from, what your history is, like, these men who lived before us, like, do you think they'd be sat there calling names when they have beef? It's like, it's so petty. It's kind of cringe. I don't like it. And on top of this, we have another opportunist, Greg Doucette, right? It seems like this guy's entire channel is just a pure drama channel. So I think all this is a waste of time. And the only person who actually wins is, well, like, the YouTube AdSense, right? So if you get sucked into this drama, you need to stop. This is no different from women gossiping or watching, like, you know, Keeping Up with the Kardashians or some of these, like, stupid shows. The only reason you should care about the Hamza drama is to understand that you shouldn't care about the Hamza drama. And indeed, you should insulate yourself from all other YouTube drama. Like, there's no role model for you on YouTube. There's nobody who you can follow blindly. unfollow all these channels who aren't moving you forward, right? Actually go to your subscription to YouTube, unsubscribe to all the channels which are not moving you forward right now, and then install that extension. There's an extension, I forgot the name of it, but I'll put it in the comments. There's an extension which blocks out YouTube, blocks out all of YouTube except for the subscription feed. So you won't see recommended. Very important, because YouTube's like, what is YouTube trying to do? YouTube is trying to just get you to stay on their platform as long as possible. So it will show you the kind of videos which hook you in, which is things like this, like the drama videos. So you don't want to spend time on that shit. But at the same time, YouTube has this unique angle that other social media doesn't have, which is there's actually a lot of value on YouTube. There's actually a lot of educative stuff on YouTube. So if you find the channels which actually move you forward, just watch their stuff. So just watch their stuff, and you can just ignore all of YouTube other than that. You should spend less time on YouTube, but more quality time on YouTube, is what I'm trying to say. So get the extension. That's another actionable step from this video. In the end, this drama really comes down to a philosophical disagreement between the two. And this is actually an interesting part. Like, I don't like the drama, but this is actually interesting. So Sam, why does this beef even start? Sam started saying on his channel that self-improvement doesn't work for him, and that acquiring a skill is what helped him. In other words, he was saying, well, Hamza's whole, meditation, journaling, blah, 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 this wasn't the key to his improvement. It was more so acquiring the skill of being a video editor, which helped him. That was Sam's point of view. Now, Hamza saw this as an attack, whether justified or not, that's for you to decide. And that's where this whole drama started. So this still leaves the question unanswered, which is, should you focus on skill development, which what Sam would say, or should you focus on the mental health and journaling and meditation and so on, which is what Hamza would say. So if you're a grown adult, which I hope you are, the answer is obvious, right? It's a false dichotomy. You don't need to choose between skill development versus self-improvement activities. This is not how it works. And besides, you don't even need to take anybody's word for these habits, right? Like meditation. Does meditation work or not? Just do it. Actually be consistent for a month, and then you can decide on your own. Same for journaling. Does it work or not? For some people it might, some people it might not. Actually try it for a month. If it works, continue. If it doesn't work, then leave it. Does NoFap help or not? Well, try NoFap for a month. If it's good for you, keep doing it. If it doesn't work for you, then don't. So there's some topics that we cannot actually experiment. Whoa, look at that. You guys, there's a F-22 Raptor flying overhead right now. I wish I could just take the camera. Wait. Hold on. Yo, look at that. How cool. So I'm gonna, there's another one. What is going on? So I know that this is a noise cancelling microphone, so you don't know how loud these things are. It is loud out here, boys. There's two F-22 Raptors flying overhead, doing some kind of... There's a third one. It's flying low. What is going on? Whoa. I gotta get this. Dude, that's so cool. It's disappeared. Yeah. In a 10-second period, basically, there's 3 F-22 Raptors flying overhead. Pretty cool. Anyway, where the hell was I? So what I'm saying is, you don't have to be quote unquote on self-improvement or be a part of Hamza's cult to do any of these habits, and you can come to your own independent conclusion based on your own observations. At the end of the day, you can only really trust what you observe. So just do these habits. If it works, it works. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And when it comes to skills, well, of course, skills are important and matter a lot. And Hamza wouldn't really disagree. So this whole beef comes from a place of nonsense. Hamza would not necessarily disagree that skills aren't important. I mean, Hamza's skill at speaking in front of the camera and having camera presence and all the stuff is what made him a millionaire, right? So of course Hamza believes in skill development, and so there isn't even actually a strong disagreement between the two. In other words, when it comes to any influence or anybody on the internet, right, or even off the internet, if you read a book, if you consume any media, all you got to do is take what works and leave the rest. So that's where your discernment comes in. Like even in this video, there's some things which I said which may not make sense to you. Maybe you don't agree with me. Like, okay, cool. Leave the parts which you didn't find value in and just double down on the things that you did find value in. And that's it. So in the end, I want to just conclude by saying, by repeating this quote, which is, great minds discuss ideas, average minds discuss events, and small minds discuss people. So if you find yourself caught thinking about like what Hamza is doing or what Sam is doing, you're being a small-minded person. So just recalibrate by asking yourself the question, does this behavior serve you? If the answer is no, then change your behaviors. So I'll leave you with a reminder to start the application for the grand prize. I look forward to reading what you have to say, and may the best man win.